Okay, welcome everyone. The Senate will now be called to order. First, I'd just like to go over questions and voting because I know there's senators and the rest of the ASG team that is to be sworn in today. Unless you are a current senator, please do not vote today. For all intents and purposes, until the new ASG team is sworn in, you are members of the public. So that means that you will not be raising your hand unless it's during members of the hearing of the public, and you will not be voting. Also, since this is a recorded meeting, all private messages are made public in the transcript. So just be aware of that as well. I'd like to start today with the land acknowledgement. For those who are new to ASG, we start Senate with a land acknowledgement to reflect on the meaning of place, and in doing so, recognize the various traditional lands on which we do our business today. And since this meeting is being held online, just one land acknowledgement can't capture the richness of our distribution across the US and potentially the globe. But since ASG is a body under the University of San Diego, I would like to share the land acknowledgement that is used at USD. And I invite you all today to consider your own positionality with where you find yourself today. I want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional and unceded territory of the Kumeyaay Nation. I want to pay respect to the citizens of the Kumeyaay Nation, both past and present, and their continuing relationship to their ancestral lands. Thank you. The Clerk of Senate will now take roll.
Okay, well, happy Tuesday, everyone. Okay, so to start us off, AJ Armienta.
Here.
Thank you. Alana Del Torre.
Here.
Thank you. Alexa Andrade.
Here.
Thank you. Angela Tharp.
Here.
Thank you. Benjamin Tebow.
Here.
Thank you. Brooke Powell.
Here.
Thank you. Cecilia Baron.
Here.
Yeah.
Here.
Thank you. Elena Cruz.
Here.
And then Ezra Wheeler, they're coming later. They sent me a text. I shall go back. Fantasy Bias.
Here.
Thank you. Lauren Fittis.
Here.
Thank you. Madeline Wu.
Here.
Max Donahoe. Max Donahoe. I can circle back. Megan Womack.
Here.
Thank you. Mia Soto.
Here.
Sabrina Mendoza.
Here.
Thank you. Sean Kenny.
Here.
Thank you. Thomas Riley. Thomas Riley. Okay. I shall circle back. Tiana Fee.
Here.
And then, okay. Precious Perlas.
Here.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Ari. Moving on to approval of today's agenda. Are there any motions? Ceci?
Hi, I move to amend the agenda to add 2 lines to new business. The discussion of extended pass fail for 20 minutes and the discussion of student org for 10 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to add 2 items to new business. Is there any further discussion? If not, please. Thank you. Motion passes. Are there any motions on the amended agenda? Lauren?
I move to approve today's amended agenda.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the amended agenda. Is there any further discussion? Angela? If
No,
not,
that
go ahead. Go ahead, Angela.
no, it was a mistake. I clicked it.
Oh, got it. Understood. Is there any further discussion on the amended agenda? If not, please cast your votes. Fantasy, I think I'm just missing yours. Thank you. Motion passes. The agenda has been approved. Moving on to approval of last week's minutes. Are there any motions? Madeline?
I move to approve the minutes from April 29th.
Second.
There's a motion having been seconded to approve last week's minutes. Is there any? If not, please cast your votes. Thank you. Motion passes. The minutes have been approved. Moving on to report. The Vice Provost of Diversity, Inclusion, Equity Forums have concluded. None of them particularly wowed me, except the top two candidates, in my opinion, were the second and fourth candidates. And I've made that feedback. And also the Constitution amendments are now live as a reminder. So please let your constituents know that voting will take place on my San Diego portal under the ASG Constitution tab. And that voting will take place from Thursday, May 7th to Monday, May 10th. Moving on to reports from committee chairs and coordinators.
There are no new updates.
My bad. Oh, and then did we say inclusion diversity? No. What?
No, you can continue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you so much. As of right now, no new updates except we had Alexa do a second episode of the podcast last week or 2 weeks ago. But if you have any more suggestions, feel free to shoot an email my way for the podcast. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. No new updates.
Student Life also has no new updates. Thank you.
I also have no new updates.
Hey y'all. So again, the vaccine requirement is still in place for fall 2021. And San Diego County has a vaccine site on USC's campus. It's located at the west parking lot and it's open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And you're encouraged to schedule an appointment using the San Diego County website. I'll drop that in the chat in a little bit. And then Student Wellness will be raffling off 20 different $20 gift cards to students who have received at least their first vaccine. And I will put that form in the chat as well. happening this week. You can sign up for a free yoga with campus recreation. And then you can follow at BeWellUSD for helpful tips to take care of yourself.
Hello, everybody. So we're gonna check in on the Sustainable Goods database on Wednesday, and hopefully all the edits will be ready so we can post it. Yay! And then, as always, you might as well just check out that sustainability module on Blackboard. And then finally, over the summer, I'll probably be planning a sustainability presentation for the student org conference. So it would just be to like get people excited to use Marketplace and the Sustainable Goods database. If you guys have any ideas about what you would like me to address, I'd be happy to have any input. Thank you, guys.
Sorry, y'all. So as y'all may or may not know, the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee will be, I guess, transitioning into the new IDEA committee, so the Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Accessibility. That's a heavy title for sure. They all kind of interconnect, or they definitely interconnect, and we want to take like an intersectional approach when it comes to the IDEA committee. So I'm really excited. I know that the work that I have done in the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee definitely has not gone unknown or like underappreciated. Like I really, I feel valued in the work that has been done. And I know that the best option is to just kind of like merge it into communities that are already doing the work like again, we want the intersectional approach. So I think it's a perfect fit to go into this committee, and I'm really excited. And I think that I will be able to share some like the pilot things that the Universal Design Ad Hoc Committee has initiated, and the communication and like the networking, so then the new committee can continue that work. So thank you all so much for bearing with me. Thank you for creating the ad hoc committee. Its time has come to an end, but like I said, we're trying. Also, I just wanted to say, feel free to reach out to me over summer anytime about accessibility concerns, ideas to improve accessibility and or your access needs, whether that's for like summer classes. For the fall, I tried to get the DLDRC to come speak, at our meetings, but I know that this is our last one. So I'm gonna try to be as proactive as I can as a student leader who's bridging communication between faculty and students, to just like be proactive in telling students about their accessibility options and any accommodations that might need to happen as we transition to maybe a more hybrid class structure. And again, I know that the conversation is mainly only around everyone coming back to campus, but I will confidently say that that's not an option for everybody. And so I'm trying to advocate for somewhat of a hybrid option, just because folks will still be at risk, and or, just that many people may or may not be a risky situation for some folks. So I'm talking with the DLDRC on top of other faculty to make sure it's known that even student organizations, even ASG, just making sure that it's known that there is still going to be there still should be some type of virtual aspect as we transition. If y'all want to know more about accessibility information, or if you need to reach out for any help or accommodations or advocacy on student leaders' part, please feel free to reach out to Alliance of Disability Advocates. They're a student-led group, so it's a similar focus to the Universal Design Committee. Their Instagram is on there and their email. I'm also part of that student org, so not just to plug it, but just like if y'all really want some continuing information and work around what I've been doing, feel free to follow them and know what's going on. That's kind of like how we relay information from the DLDRC. So thank you for that heavy like check-in, but feel free to reach out about anything. I'll be active for the next year. Thank you.
Thank you all. Moving on to reports from ASG exec board members.
Hello, everyone. I do not have much updates since Thursday. Just that SACPOT's happening this Thursday, and it's been an honor and a pleasure working with y'all. So thank you for everything.
Everyone, sorry for the background noise. I'm currently out at a Starbucks working on stuff. But a couple things from me from University Senate. There's a new update to the My San Diego portal, which will make it more user and mobile friendly. It's going to go live this summer on June 11th. As a review for April in terms of COVID-19, the USD positivity rate is slightly lower than the County of San Diego positivity rate. And this spring semester, USD administered 18,000 COVID tests, and all faculty, staff, and admin, along with several high-risk students, have been offered the vaccine through USD. And also, just as general knowledge, the vaccine is openly available in County San Diego, so there's that option for those as well. And then lastly, I'm going to add in an attachment in the chat. The faculty chimed in with their own letter to Dr. Harris, summing up their sort of understanding of the Supreme Drag Superstar event. Essentially, as a summary, the faculty are just saying that they understand the policies that are in place, but they wanted to reaffirm their stance in support for the LGBTQ+ community and what the decision may have weighed as an effect on them. And then lastly, just similar sentiments to Joey. Thank you all so much for allowing us to be present, and it's been a good year. So yeah.
Hi everyone, happy Tuesday. So I just wanted to give an announcement really quick about the Blue Buzz. Next Monday, I will be sending out the last Blue Buzz of the year. So if there's any finals events or any things that y'all would like included in it, please email me over the blurbs and the flyers no later by the end of the day tomorrow. And if not, unfortunately, I won't be able to include it. One other update regarding our giveaway that was finalized in like the 15 minutes that this was already up. If you signed up to receive a sweatshirt and to pick it up on campus, you should have been emailed with the 2 pickup times, which are next week, next Monday and Tuesday. If you did not, feel free to private message me and I'll be sure to get your email so I can share it with us. And if not, and you got it mailed to your house, they should be working on getting that delivered in the next few weeks. Then just as a final thing, the TPB final event of the year is this Thursday. We will be having Tiffy Cooks, an awesome, amazing chef who made 3 special recipes for us. You can sign up by scanning the QR code on the screen. It'll be really awesome and super fun. You'll have an opportunity to get to know more about Tiffy and her experiences. And you also will get a $25 gift card to Target to help cover the cost of ingredients for the event. So I really hope to see you all on Thursday. And like with Joey and Justin, it's been super amazing getting to work with you all this next year. And for those of you who are coming back or staying at USD, I know that you'll do amazing things for the campus and I can't wait to hear all about it.
Hey everyone, I didn't put this there, but Maya's update reminded me. I've also been going to the Vice Provost of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion interviews. And like Maya, I was not astounded by any of the candidates, but my top 2 were the 2nd and 3rd candidates, which I passed on to the selection committee. So we'll see who's chosen, but that's my general feedback on that. And again, the Constitution amendments are posted and the voting will happen May 7th to May 10th. I believe May 7th is a Friday, May 10th is a Monday. So it'll be basically just a long weekend that you can vote. And then the new Chief Justice was selected last Friday. So your current parliamentarian is now going to be the Chief Justice next year. So congratulations to Sarah. And I didn't put this here, but I sound like I'm repeating what everyone else said, but it's been an honor working with you all this year. I've really appreciated all the hard work you put in, and I look forward to seeing what you all do in the future. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Today I'll be presenting the Fall 21 allocations as well as the end of the year giveaways. And yeah, as everyone mentioned, thank you for this phenomenal year. It has been challenging, but we made it through. Wishing you all the best, and thank you, everyone.
Alrighty, hello everyone, happy Tuesday. So not too many updates again, just that the marketing committee meeting is happening right after Senate today. So for the timing, we are no longer taking any marketing requests, and just wanted to say thank you all for an amazing year. I want to applaud you all on the hard work that you've put in, and again, just it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with all of you, and thank you for an amazing year.
What's going on, everybody? So for the Grubhub credits, people who are members of the public, please drop your emails in the chat. But also for the new incoming members for ASG, also drop your names or your emails in the chat so I can get you those Grubhub credits as well. And then for the Stole pickup, for those of us who want to pick them up, the pickup days are from May 10th to the 11th from 9 to 5 in the ASG offices. If you are someone who wants to pick them up and these dates do not work for you, please let me know and we can coordinate a time that works for both of us. But for the shipping of the stools, they'll be shipped by the end of the week, and so you should have those by next week. And for the ASG Banquet Award plaques, I am ordering those at the end of this week, and I'll be sending out a Google poll tomorrow asking for the delivery addresses because these will have to be delivered, considering that it'll take about 2 to 3 weeks for them to be actually made and delivered to here to us. But again, it's been an incredible year, and I am honored to have worked alongside such incredible individuals. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. First item under old business is a discussion of chest feeding friendly campus resolution from Sabrina. Sabrina, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. So last week I presented about it, and I've had a few more senators sponsor this resolution. So if anyone has any questions or if you want to make any motions, feel free to do so now.
Lauren?
I move to approve the chest feeding friendly campus resolution.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the chest feeding friendly campus resolution. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Max and Elena, I'm just waiting on you. Thank you all. Motion passes. Congrats to Sabrina. Okay, moving into discussion to our first line item under new business, which is a presentation of the ASG Fall 2021 Budget and Finance Committee decisions. So Rafa, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maya. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I'm going to get started with the end of the year giveaways, as it's more simple and less complicated than the budget. So as you might remember, this is the funds available from the previous budget that we approved in March, 289,473. The requested funds were 61, and well, if approved, 61, and the remaining is 228, which is the number that I use in the main spreadsheet for the fall 21 budget. Are there any questions for the end of the year giveaways?
Sabrina?
I noticed on the outdoor adventures, there is 2,000 for the Naglin, I may be mispronouncing the name, water bottles. I just don't understand like how really sustainable that is, and spending $2,000 on water bottles, I think for 210 students. I just wanted to hear other senators' feedback and hear what they thought about spending $2,000 for those water bottles.
Any concerns, comments from senators?
Angela?
So I have like a lot of concerns with the budget. Should we bring it up like one by one? Like how should that go about?
Rafa, do you have a preferred method for, would you rather that senators wait until that line item comes up to bring up the concern, or would you rather hear them all?
Well, I was planning to make a decision for the end of the year giveaways first, and then go with the fall 21 allocations, because that's gonna take more time.
Yeah. Okay. So if anyone has concerns on the budgets, and once we get to that point, then we can address those. Lauren?
In terms of what a previous senator has brought up, is it possible that our sustainability coordinator could talk about our sustainable purchasing guidelines in terms of that? If not, that's okay. I don't want to put another senator in a weird position.
Madeline?
I'm looking back at the requests, and because they're hoping reusable, they're also made from 50% recycled materials. That is something that we talk about in the guidelines, to hopefully use and purchase goods that are made from recycled materials. And then it seems like these are for trips, so they would, be used for that purpose. Otherwise, I would prefer this over like just single-use plastics. That is my position, but yes.
Thank you. Ben?
Sorry, my internet's a bit unstable, so I'm going to keep my video off for just a bit. Hopefully it sort of reorganizes. Yeah, just I guess to clarify a little bit, these are reusable water bottles. They are made with 50% recycled content, so I don't necessarily have opposition to these water bottles being requested or funded.
Fantasy?
I think that is a lot of money for water bottles, and it seems like it's a specific brand. So I'm just wondering if, like, I know that they're 50% recycled. Yeah, they do seem like a pretty expensive brand, and personally, I've had one of those water bottles, and I feel like they like sweat a lot, or like the condensation or whatever. And I don't know if they're, I don't know. I guess I'm just like indifferent about that. I just think 2,000 is a lot of money for the water bottles specifically. I also had a concern with, I'm gonna look or double check, but I think it's under the ASG operations budget of $41,000 going towards updating the third floor of the SLP. I guess if someone could just like reiterate what the concern is of like what's going on up there, if the couches or anything are like destroyed, or if it's just the people are trying to renovate. Yeah, so I noticed that the furniture is 30,000, and then some storage spaces and things like that. I think that's a lot of money. So I don't know if there's any like line item of specifically like what type of couches, or like how they're benefiting or how they're different. I know that there's also like a university design website where we can like, there is furniture. Thank you, Sabrina. Like furniture kind of like guidelines, or something that could maybe help us not spend $30,000 on couches or furniture. That's just my concern about that. We can stay on that topic. I just wanted to at least express it.
Ari?
Just to point out what a previous senator had mentioned, I agree 100%. I think $30,000 is a little, actually extremely excessive for furniture. And I believe another senator had pointed out about the reusing of furniture as well, just to be able to follow sustainability guidelines, and it's way more beneficial for us on the financial side. I think another concern that was also pointed out, and something that I had noticed, I think, was also the fact that bowling, I think there was believe it was in the veterans tab. There was a specific bowling event party, and it had looked to be about $1,000 for 25 individuals to rent bowling shoes, which in my opinion, I think is a bit excessive, just because I don't think bowling shoes are that expensive. I'm not sure. But yeah, I think, yeah.
You know, at least this is concerning the end of the year giveaways. What you're mentioning is from the actual budget. So within this, are there any more concerns?
Regarding the giveaways, Rafa?
Correct.
Sabrina?
So for the water bottles, is there a way to maybe like allocate less towards that? Because I'm just curious if that's going to be something students actually utilize, just because if it just becomes another plastic bottle that they don't actually enjoy and then they just throw it away, that doesn't seem sustainable to me. So I am just concerned that students may not actually utilize them, and that does seem like a lot of money to spend towards that.
Joey?
Hi, Sabrina. Oh, go for it, Angela.
Actually,
Sorry, you do.
We're following Robert's rules, and if somebody has already spoken on a topic, then it takes people that have not spoken on the discussion yet take precedent. So Joey.
Thank you. So to speak to a previous senator's point, I don't think it is up to us to decide whether someone might throw away something or not. It's to decide whether this organization believes water bottles will improve the students' experience with regards to this. And with regards to comments that the water bottles are pricey, last time I checked, Hydro Flasks are $32 a pop. These are only $8 a pop. I don't think, I mean, I would just say that. And then also, I believe we can also make the argument that, I mean, any other thing that we have funded over the past semester or even the past year could potentially be thrown away. I don't think it is up to us to assume whether it will be thrown away or not, just whether we believe that based off of what the reasoning behind these water bottles are, if they're necessary, and they will enhance the experience.
Justin?
Thanks, Maya. And the Starbucks is popping up, so please forgive the background noise. In terms of concerns with Finance Committee, very, very valid. The way that we sort of tiered each process is that we have a certain set of guidelines and precedents, and we also look at if the event is new or if the event is not new, and then weigh that with also how many students would be impacting. And we sort of looked at each center and used our own sort of discretion with those guidelines we set, and also how much that center has set. So each center has their own right to request what they want per se. We definitely were sort of strict on different guidelines or different line items that centers have set. But the big thing that at least helped me with this process in Finance Committee is that what we allocate isn't necessarily what's going to be spent at the end of the semester. It's a budget that we allocate towards them for them to use for whatever they see fit. We as the Finance Committee are not there to sort of judge the ethics too quickly of, oh, well, this water bottle is like this versus this bottle, because we didn't put in the request for that. We're sort of weighting that against everything else that they had because they have a prioritization of what they want. That goes for the water bottles, it goes for whatever the Women's Commons wants, or the bowling alley issues with the Veteran Center. So I hope that can provide some context for the Senate here. Thank you.
Lauren?
Based on a previous senator's comment that these water bottles also fit our sustainable purchasing guidelines, I move to approve the end of year request allocations.
Second.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the end of year request allocations. Sabrina. No, actually, I'm sorry. Angelo?
So I just think that it's kind of confusing to approve these end of year allocations without looking at the rest of the budget, because I think it's when you look at the rest of the budget, you see that there's things that didn't get funding for specific reasons, and then we're going to approve the funding for these things. So I don't think it's fair to look at it and approve them separately.
And I'm going to answer those questions, Angelo, no worries.
Fantasy.
Well, but
Sorry. Okay, so I agree with the previous senator's statement on that. As we got all the documents received to us, we were trying to look at them as more of like an equity standpoint around like utilizing the money in certain ways. From my understanding, the remaining funds for the fall semester, so like that goes to next year. So the remaining funds that we had for this past year, 2020 to 2021, those are the remaining funds. And so we're essentially allocating 61,000, but we still have 228,000 left over. So that 228,000 goes to next year to funding the events for next year, if I'm not mistaken. And then, so I'm just agreeing with that, like, it's a little bit hard to try to like approve this when like this money, if it's not all the way funded, some of it could be used for next year for things that were like not funded. And I know that I don't think my concern or question was answered about the furniture in the 307 department. So I just didn't know if like there was gonna be an explanation on if the furniture is like ripped apart, if it's decaying. I don't know what's going on over there, but like 30,000 is still a lot of money to be funding for new furniture. As we know, folks haven't really even been on campus for the past year or so. So I don't know if someone can address that concern, or if they have a certain like line item of like these certain couches costing $30,000 and then in general costing 40,000. But as we can see, the 41,000 is a large portion of the 61,000. So if we don't approve the 40,000 right now, we could be using that funding, 40,000 for our next year's allocations, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct, Fantasy. And the other thing, before we move on, and I want to clarify, is that the centers are restricted by 20% of the annual budget. And what that means is we are only able to allocate, this year we allocate 14% of the annual budget. And that's stated by the bylaws. So doesn't matter that we, it's going to increase a little bit more. If you think about it, is not really by much, because that threshold is like forcing us to, not allocate more funding.
Madeline?
I just had a question. So if today these didn't pass and we wanted to make revisions to these, would we have to call another Senate meeting to approve the end of the year allocations? What would happen?
Yes, we had to call an emergency Senate meeting and a finance committee, an emergency meeting as well.
Sabrina?
I just wanted to bring up again the concern about the over 40K for the new furniture. I would just like more clarification. And I also wanted to say that I realize centers can only receive 20%. That's for the whole year. So if a center wanted to, they could receive 18% during the fall semester if they felt that was best for them. And then the 2% remaining funding for the spring semester. So we can allow centers, to decide kind of how much of that 20% they would like allocated that for them throughout the year, correct?
It's pretty much a decision that we made, because if we think about it, 2% just for the spring is, it's not enough money for them to, to do pretty much anything. So.
Point of information. Sorry, if we call an emergency Senate meeting, is that with our new Senate staff, with our new senators after they're approved? Because we're approving them today.
Anaya, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was going to answer. So you got ahead of me, Lauren. But yeah, so you are free to table this discussion about the end of the year allocations and next year's budget. But your job ends at the end of this meeting today. So, and the new Senate is sworn in, to put it quite frankly. So that would be the new Senate's position. So either the next president or the next Senate as a collective would decide to have an emergency meeting or when to have an emergency meeting, and then they would discuss this amongst themselves. So hope that answered all the questions.
Angelo? Not Sean?
Just looking through it, I have to say I don't really understand, I guess, like what the concerns are, because I do think we have $228,000 remaining, assuming every penny of like what's allocated gets spent. And considering like the furniture and all that, like I don't think we've like we don't really know how much furniture we're getting, so it could be a lot of furniture. I don't know. And the water bottles too, like for $8, I think it's pretty reasonable. Like I have to say, I'm pretty inclined to like approve a budget, because I do think we have a lot to carry over. So if we need more money or like more allocations per se, we'd have, we have several times more money than we allocated already, with like $228,000.
Jen?
Hi, everyone. Just to provide a little context about the furniture, and Madeline, if you want to chime in too, that's an estimate. We did meet with our procurement office. So anything that is purchased or brought up in any capacity at USD in terms of this type of funding gets vetted and worked through with our university procurement. Just to provide a little bit of context, if it's helpful, is sometimes university furniture is made for like wear and long term compared to like resident, like people when they live in their residential furniture. So the furniture just costs a little bit different because it's made to withstand like numerous years of like use. So if that is helpful, that is just to provide a little bit of context with that in terms of like, I wouldn't spend that amount on my personal home, but it's a situation. And also it's really about brainstorming with the students what type of furniture would be helpful in that space and on that floor. So it would also be in conjunction with student input and feedback.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, I was gonna say one last thing is like, along with the water bottles being pretty affordable, like those are something like just goes to individual students, but also as well with the furniture is like, that's something that all students are gonna have access to and be able to use. I think it'll provide a lot of utility to all students, and as was said, it's gonna last for years to come. So I do find value in having the furniture allocated for.
I have another point of information. Can Finance Committee meet if there are no committee chairs selected? Is there like a quorum for Finance Committee?
Anaya?
That's a great question. To be honest, I would have to really sit with the bylaws and read through it. I've tried to come up with the answer for that. I think two options would be either the extenuating circumstance clause would be used and the new executive team would have to serve as Finance Committee, or just the old Senate chairs, even though I don't think that would be fair. Might not be fair. The old Senate chairs would just continue on as Finance Committee. Those are really like the only two options I could think of, but I can't give you a definite answer on what either one of those would be.
Angela?
Yeah, sorry, I have a bad internet connection, but my question just with the furniture is ASG responsible for buying other furniture on campus? Like, where is the line drawn? Are we gonna be buying desks for classrooms next year? Like, don't you think that furniture on campus should be university purchased, not student purchased? Or I'm just wondering how that really works. Because we're spending 40 grand of student activity fee money on furniture for the university. Is that standard?
Marilyn or Jen, if you can answer the question.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that. So typically in the past, ASG has purchased furniture for the third floor of the SLP specifically because this is a student leadership space and the space that's considered your office areas. You have not often purchased furniture for other areas of campus unless it's in support of a specific initiative that ASG is working on.
When was the last time we bought it though?
Angela, can you just keep your hand raised, please? I'm just making sure that I'm going by. I have Stack pulled up, so I want to make sure that I'm giving everybody the fair chance to talk. Sabrina?
I just wanted to reiterate again about the furniture. I did survey with some students who have been active in the SAI, the SLP third floor, as well as myself. I realized that we haven't been there for a year, but to their recollection, the furniture seemed comfortable, usable. It was not torn or damaged. They thought it was functional. I wanted to point out, while some people may think this is only $40K, if you look at the budget for the fall 2021, there are centers and spaces that are not getting allocated money. So while maybe this doesn't seem like a lot, it is a lot because this can really impact students. We're looking at the budget in kind of two different ways. So we're looking at it end of year and then we're looking at it at fall. So I realize that kind of can make us think it's two different things, but this money is interconnected. So $40K on furniture to me is a really big deal. And I wanted to just reiterate again, I have spoken with students and I have reached out to see people who did spend a lot of time there, if they've noticed anything that they think, wow, this really needs to be replaced. I'm not comfortable with using this space. And to restate a previous senator's question, when was the furniture last, I guess, purchased?
I don't know if Jen or Madeline has an answer to that question.
I can speak. I have not been there longer than I think 6 or 7 years. There has been some items that have been purchased since I have been at USD, like in this role on the third floor. I would say the majority of the furniture, so like the couches, the tables that people study on, those were all present prior to me, and I think I've been there the longest on the team. So that, I'm sorry I don't have specifics on that, but the majority of the furniture on the third floor has been prior to maybe.
Joey? Okay, if not, Fantasy.
Thank you. I was gonna ask also, when's the last time we had bought it? I know that I have been in there, and some folks, some constituents of mine have also been in there, to where it was really usable furniture. It was decent, nice, more than nice. Everything I feel like on USD looks pretty nice. I've also been on like the fourth floor, and I feel like they have like similar furniture as well. So kind of just like comparing to other centers, I am kind of, I guess, concerned about like if we can, as like a SAI or the third floor, if they can request from the university to get the funds for new furniture, because I'm assuming that's what maybe the fourth floor might do, or like another department might do. I do caution using student activity funds to buy the furniture, especially if we know that it's somewhat outdated. Then I feel like that's a good reason to let the university know. If anything, say that we do approve it, where would the other furniture go? Where would like the quote unquote used furniture go? Could it be donated? Would it be open to students up for grabs? Would it be thrown away? I think that's a good question. And then I also have another question of, let's say like hypothetically, if we don't approve the 30,000 for the furniture, specifically that one line item, but still like the 11,000 for the other updates. If we don't approve the 30K for the furniture, does that mean that that goes to the fall 2021 remaining allocations? Could we use that money when we talk about the fall 2021 allocations today as like it's there, or would this decision to deny the 30,000 go back to the finance committee so then y'all can reallocate it? Or just like, could we do that in real time? I hope that makes sense. Let me know if that does not make sense. And my last statement would just be that like, I think it makes sense that the water bottles are cheaper because they're 50% plastic. So the hydro would be more expensive, but maybe we could get like 100 of them. They're more usable, more durable. We don't have to go back to the water bottle situation. I'm just saying, I think at least for myself, I don't know if that was understood. Like, I think it makes sense that they're cheaper because they are partially plastic and don't have like that insulated feature compared to like a more durable water bottle.
Rafa, do you have an answer to Fantasy's question about what would happen if that furniture request was denied?
Yeah, I think those funds roll over to the next fiscal year, which, pretty much you mentioned, Fantasy. Those 30K go to the remaining funds for next fiscal year.
AJ?
Hi, I really want to emphasize and support Senate today by suggesting senators to look at the description and justifications for the line items. The university has done extensive research as well as reached out to internal offices that can help suggest why they're making these fundings. And I also want to emphasize to the Senate to make decisions that are preventative rather than reactionary. I definitely want to give our next senators a clean slate to start off their year, coming back from being virtual learning into in-person, especially if there's a suggestion that this furniture may just need to be replaced. And just the budget as a whole, I really want everyone to realize and take time and think about, is this really like something that we need to prevent, or is this something that we should make short-term versus long-term ways?
Thank you, AJ, for that information. And I just want to say to the senators that, this budget, or not the end of the year, but the fall 21 budget is not a set of stone budget that, they had to get for, for the fall. They can make modifications through the summer, at the beginning of the semester. During my committee, we met a couple of times during last summer, trying to reallocate the funding, to the different needs with COVID and adaptations of the same manner. So don't think of this as something that is that cannot be changed. Yeah. Are there any other questions?
Jen?
Just to clarify, I want to follow up on the real-time changes question that was asked. I would say that whatever you all want to shift or change would be recommendations to provide back to the finance committee. So that would be the recommendation and how the bylaws will work in the situation. So I hope that offers some clarity with that. Also, Rafa did mention that last year's finance committee did meet multiple times over the summer. That was if there's an extenuating circumstance. I just want to be really clear. It's not just because, oh, we disagree or whatnot. And I'm just trying to give you like knowledge, not anything other than that. But there would need to be an extenuating situation like the crisis of COVID, you know, the pandemic, the changes in like how people were coming to campus or not coming to campus. That would be the reason why they met. So a disagreement, while valid and I support, that might not lead to the level of extenuating circumstances. So I just want to make sure that that's clearly understood, so that you have as helpful information.
Thank you. Lauren?
I move to call the question.
Second.
So to clarify, to move to call to question is basically there's a motion on the floor, haven't been seconded, that we're going to vote on this motion that is on the floor, because this whole discussion has been surrounding the motion on the floor, haven't been seconded, which is to approve the end of year request allocations. So, Anaya, correct me if I'm wrong, but we just vote right now on the motion on the allocations, right?
To call to question, you would have to vote to call to question, which is a 2/3, and then you would vote again for finance, which is 2/3.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor, and then wait, sorry again, Naya. Is there a discussion on the call to question? Is there an ability for that? No?
It's not debatable.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor, haven't been seconded to, I just want to make sure everyone's hands are lowered from the get-go, just so we can, because if people start denying things, then that disappears faster than people that raise their hands. So there's a motion on the floor, haven't been seconded to call to question. So basically that means that there's a motion on the floor, haven't been seconded, to vote on the end of the year request allocations. Basically no more discussion, debate about that. Okay, please cast your votes on the call to question. Motion passes. So then Anaya, sorry again. So then call the question means no more debate. So we're just going to go straight into the vote for the end of the year request allocations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor, haven't been seconded, to approve the end of the year request allocations. In order to approve it, needs a 2/3 majority vote, or 2/3 vote. Okay, please cast your votes. If you're voting no, make sure that your vote doesn't disappear off the screen.
Point of clarification, is there any discussion in the motion, the motion to vote though? I know not for like the call to question, but
Yeah,
the vote, can there be discussion?
No, because the vote was to move to vote on this.
There's no discussion for the call to question.
There's no more debate on this vote. And this motion has already been seconded, which was to approve the end of the year request allocations. And since the call to vote was approved, that means that we're just going straight into the end of the year request allocations vote. Can people voting no make sure that it doesn't disappear off the screen? Thank you. Motion passes. The end of the year request allocations has been approved.
All right, everyone, let's move on with the main topic of today, the 421 allocations. Just to summarize, I'm going to say this is the remaining that I mentioned previously. The endowment scholarship finance committee decided not to put any funds on this endowment for this year because we want to make sure that we have enough funds going for the fiscal year 21. And 65,000, this is the reserves according to our bylaws, is, that's required. Those are the future funds that we have from this year to the next fiscal year. And just to letting you know, this amount can vary. It's probably going to be higher, but I want to mention that. So the amount of funds is probably going to be higher, but rather be safe. The 1.25 million estimated revenue for the next fiscal year is also in the conservative side, meaning that it's probably lower than it's going to be. So it's probably going to be higher as well. So don't think of this as, set, already set numbers. So this is the amount that we have for the next fiscal year, 1.4, close to 1.5 million. And the amount that we decided to allocate is 1 million or 70% of the budget, the annual budget. These are the amounts that everyone requested, close to 1.2 million, and we were by deficit of 137. The finance committee had to make a lot of cuts, and we came out to 1 million roughly. So we are good in that aspect. And the other thing, at least with centers, we needed to allocate, we go back again with a 20% limit that we have annual, but we don't want to allocate all the 20% for the fall. Otherwise, there's not going to be enough, funding for them for the spring. So that's another thing that I want to mention. TPB, they also have a limit. It's 35% of the annual budget plus or minus 7%. And that's annual, which means it can vary that 7%. So they got allocated to 230,000, but it's only for this semester. They're going to get more funding for the spring, and they will be able to meet that requirement according to the bylaws. Another thing that I want to mention is for the sports club, that's an annual budget. The 50,000 allocated to the sports club as annual, an annual allocations, a lump sum, and that we pretty much follow the same pattern from our predecessors of the finance committee. They allocated 50,000 as well last year for them. So that, we get that the same. And the main approach that we took, the finance committee took, was to approve pretty much the first line items of all the centers because that's the more important ones. Is phrased or they do it. And then the last one we decided to cut because we needed to cut. But that was the main decision for the centers. What else I was going to mention?
I'm sorry, we've reached our allotted time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to make a motion to extend the time, they could do that now.
Sabrina?
I move to extend the time by 15 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded to extend this line item by 15 minutes. Is there any further discussion? Fantasy? Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Elena? Thank you. Motion passes. Rafa, you may continue.
And also lastly, I want to mention, I invite members of the Finance Committee to answer any questions of senators as well, if they feel, if they wanted to. So I'm open to any questions from senators.
Sabrina?
So I just wanted to say, while I understand that centers can only get 20% for the whole year, and you want to maybe do 10% fall, 10% spring, that doesn't always make sense because, for example, with Student Support Services, SSS, they have a very large event called Summer Bridge, and that takes a lot of the funding, and that's a big event, and that's for fall. So they would use more funding in fall. Furthermore, I wanted to say that for them, one of their last line items was a self-fulfillment seminar, and it wasn't listed last because it was of least importance. It is a very important event. It's for students who are on academic probation to help give them the support and resources they need. It was listed last because it's a newer event in relation to COVID, students needing to adapt to this new way of learning in person or hybrid. So I wanted to just take that time to say that centers don't always have the ability to speak up for themselves. And so we need to really realize that if a center is requesting something, and maybe it might be more than 10%, they probably know better of what they need.
And just to answer your question, it was not 10%, it was 14%. But that remaining has to also, they also gonna need, funding for the next, for spring. So we need to save some money for them as well. And according to the SSS, the approach that Finance Committee took is, I know different centers requested more funds than others, and some of them had more impact than others, but we look at the amount they requested. As you probably saw, referring to the SSS, was close to 40,000. Usually what we did is, in the past, no center has been granted, a really high amount of funding, and they still got 18,000, I think, for this, for the fall, which is really high. And we also need to consider the other centers as well. We had limited resources, and we need to distribute it in the best equitable way. So not just focusing on one.
Ari?
To kind of highlight what a previous senator had mentioned in terms of specific programs and initiatives that are important. One of them was also, for example, I have my own Google Doc here. For example, we had Cafecito Time with Beyond Borders. They had requested $575 and were approved for none. And what is essential about this program is that it's the only program available on campus, because individuals are able to come together and create a safe space where they can talk about their immigration experiences, which is a personalized issue that is often criminalized or generalized. And it also allows for a particular workshop with faculty and DACA allies. And I know that this incentive was to give to speakers who came or who were planning to attend these events, but a majority of the time, in order to recruit students or to have individuals come to these events, there has to be incentives, especially if it's a speaker that's taking time out of their day to come and present. That's just another thing I wanted to highlight. Thank you.
Joey?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just like to point out to a previous senator's point, not the previous senator, but the previous senator, that I hear everything that you are saying. That said, it is clearly communicated to all these orgs to prioritize in terms of what you want, what you have highest prioritized and what you have least prioritized. It is communicated blanketly to everyone. If you don't read that, you don't read that and you don't prioritize them in the way that you want to. Additionally, I would also like to emphasize the fact that SSS also does request a lot of money in the as if they're only requesting in the fall. So those are two key points I would like to make.
Thank you. Anaya?
I agree with everything Joey said, so I won't repeat that for sake of time. But I'd also like to point out that these centers are university centers, and as much as ASG should help fund them because they support our students and therefore we are supporting students via proxy, for like things like Summer Bridge, which are very integral to things that the Horizon Plan loves to promote about like retention and all that stuff, which SSS has a great retention rate. The university should be doing this. So while I respect the debate here, the discussion, and I think it's really valuable, I think that we, in looking inward, are somewhat misguided in that we should be looking at the university and say, why aren't you funding Summer Bridge in full? Why aren't you funding, I don't know, UFMC, BSRC, everything that you say you love, you know, the people that they love to put on photos and say like, oh, this university is diverse. We care about poor people and you know, Black people and the like, when they, you know, I guess that's debatable. But yeah, I think we should really focus our efforts into getting the university to fund these things instead of students funding their support through university centers in that way. It just seems a little odd, in my opinion, to go back and forth and say we should give them more when really it's the university that should be doing the whole job themselves.
Thank you, Inaya. And I want to say as well, one event from I think was the UFNC, Virgen de Guadalupe event. That event can also be funded through ASGBC. So there are different ways they can, you know, get allocations, not through different ways. So, you know, that's why also we consider that in our equation.
Angela?
Yeah, I just want to iterate some of the points that have been made. I think that there are things that the university should be funding, like furniture. But I think that there are events and centers that are important to be funded and have been funded in the past by ASG. And I think that if you look at some of the things that were denied, there is a pattern, and in my opinion reflects, you know, the committee that decided all of this. And I think that it's a problem just with representation and just with, you know, the budget committee and the budget of Senate just being so secretive and just not very transparent. But I do think that there is a pattern of what was funded and what wasn't funded. And I just think that looking through the budget, it's pretty clear. And I just don't think that the budget necessarily reflects the best interest of the students as far as events being funded and not being funded, specifically with the centers.
Lauren?
I'd also like to make a point that Rafa had told me about earlier, is that we're planning, and Joey had mentioned this, we're planning for 2 different types of school years. Like we're trying to figure out whether we're going to be remote or hybrid or in person. And right now, all of these funding requests for Grub, like have Grub Hub allocations that are $20 a person. And if we go in person, which is very extremely likely based on President Harris's latest messages, then it's going to go down to $850 a person for catering, and that will free up about $20,000 of funding allocations that we can reallocate in the fall to fund these events, which is something that was brought up to me earlier.
And that's correct. Thank you, Lauren, for reminding me. Yeah, so we decided to fund based more like in a hybrid to remote setting, meaning GradHub was approved at $20 rate. There was a big discussion within the finance committee about, keeping it as a rate or lowering to, a more to $17 or $15 a rate, but they decided to keep it at 20 because we know that GradHub is really expensive and we wanted to still support our students with food if necessary in the sense of, a remote setting. But going back, if students go back to campus as is projected, according to the bylaws, is $850 per student. So that remaining funds are going to go to ASG, and the new finance committee can reallocate those funds.
Megan?
Sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
No problem. Joey?
I would be remiss to address a earlier senator's comments insinuating that the finance committee is not acting on behalf of the student body. I inquire all senators to consider the fact that we do not do 3-hour meetings for each finance committee for our health. We do it on behalf for the good of the student body. We make every choice with the best intentions of the student body in mind. I just want to address that. I don't want to say anything else about it because I'm not going to tolerate attacks on the diversity of our committee at all. And beyond that, the intention of the finance committee with regards to approving this has nothing to do with it. It's what we got in front of us right here. No ulterior motives, I could assure you, were being pursued in the approval of this budget. Only the best interests of the student body. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Sean?
Just two things. I just wanted to reaffirm and support what's said by the president because I do know all the work that goes into the finance committee and the genuine and supportive intentions on all the decisions that they make. Also would like to either, parliamentarian might need to help me on this one, but either call the question or move to approve the budget, depending on which one is necessary.
There's not a motion on the floor regarding the budget right now, so I don't think that there could be a call to question if there's no motion. But Sarah, go ahead. Or Naya, anyone.
A motion would be required, Sean.
May I make that motion right now? I move to approve the budget.
I'll let the people who have their hands raised go first, because I would have you raise your hand again to speak again, if that's cool. Okay, going off stack here. Angelo?
So I just want to clarify that, just because someone spent, 3 hours in a budget committee meeting, I wasn't questioning the intentions, just the ability, and that part of representing the students' need would be to listen and reflect. And so not to say that, oh, because time was spent and then that reflects the best interests. So I was just want to clarify a comment that I made, and I was just saying that representing the students would require listening. So I think that looking at the budget, looking at what was denied, and recognizing a pattern is just something that was observed by several other senators. And I think it's reflected in the budget. And I'm sure everyone has looked well into the budget, so.
Fantasy?
Okay, I have a lot of things as I have not been able to speak since this started, but I get staff is a thing. I'm not trying to complain about that. I'm just saying, like, one, I really hope y'all do not call to order. Please do not call to question. I'm sorry, I don't know how exactly it's called. Please do not allow us to vote on this right now when there are multiple concerns and multiple questions that still need to be answered. And I understand the exec did everything in their power to, and time and energy. I get that. I've been on exec and finance committee. I've been there since 1 a.m. Like, I totally understand. And y'all asked us to be prepared and look thoroughly through this budget. And that's exactly what a lot of senators did. We also took a lot of time and energy, not only last night, but whenever the budget was sent to us and reaching out to senators. I mean, people have been going above and beyond to really look at this budget. And some students are even graduating. Some students are seniors and still putting a lot of time and effort into this because we all care about the students. It's okay to know that, like, like whoever was in the meeting for exec can't make all the decisions for every student. It's okay, I feel like, to own that. You don't have to represent everybody. That's okay, even though y'all intentions are to. So that's why we also have senators who also represent other folks to then add in their opinion. So please, I would really encourage any senator, please do not call to question, call to order. Do not vote on this yet. There are a lot of things that myself and other folks have some questions and concerns about. I just haven't been able to talk because of stack, and that's okay. But I'd hope that everyone gets their chance and time to really like ask questions about this. I hope that nobody takes any questions personally, because we are just trying to do our best for students. So at the end of the day, I know I'm getting a little frustrated over here too, but at the end of the day, I'm doing this for students and for our community and for equity, like genuine equity. So I just wanted to make that known. I also want
You've
to
reached our allotted time for this discussion, so I'm going to make a motion. Feel free.
I move to extend it by 15 minutes.
Can you wait until I'm calling you, Sabrina? So Sabrina?
I move to extend this discussion by 15 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded. I have everyone's name down of the hands that are currently raised. So there's a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to extend the discussion by 15 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Fantasy, you may continue.
Thank you. And I do apologize if it's long, but like I said, I just have stuff to say. I just wanted to reiterate that y'all did ask us to put our time and energy into this budget, and that's where we're coming at y'all at. So I don't feel like we're doing it justice if we rush this process. So I just encourage all y'all to really look into it now that we're actually having more of a dialogue and extending the time. I'm sure we're gonna extend it again. I also wanna just mention that I've known or been in the know of like not all voting members were present at the finance meeting. So like meaning that some chairs might not have been there or some key people might have not been there. So I don't think that's known from Senate explicitly, but I do know that, yeah, so I'll just say, keep that there. I also wanted to just like a general tip of like, I know that there seems like, or there is like a dichotomy of like in-person and online classes. I think that our approach should be that either way, it should be hybrid, it should be virtual. As someone who doesn't know what their accessibility looks like next year, as well as being on the Universal Design Committee and talking to the DLDRC, there are some folks that cannot make it back to campus. And so even if there are in-person activities, there should be some type of way where students are still knowing that their money is utilized in a certain way, that they don't have to risk themselves to come back to campus. Some folks don't have money to come back. Some folks don't, but some of their classes might be remote. I don't even know if all professors are coming back. I know that there's been exceptions of professors still doing online. So as much as we want to seem like it's going to be totally typical next year, I don't think that we should have that approach, and we shouldn't think about it as in-person or virtual. We should always think and like it's always and we're going to transition back. So I hope that through anything that we think about that. I have two questions directly for maybe Rafa, and then I have one more comment. But one question is, so with the budget that we do have right now, I know that centers can only get 20%. How much, like, I don't know if you're able to give me like a number that would really help me visualize like how much they're able to get. I'm not like really a good math person, but what would 20% look like? And then also TPB has to receive 35% of the budget plus or minus. If you are able to put a number to that, if it's too daunting, I get it, but it'd really be nice to know the numbers instead of percentages, because that's more math that I really cannot do, but maybe I should, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the last thing is just kind of speaking on.
I was gonna say,
can I just?
Your first question, I multiply the 1.4 million times 20%. That give you 295 for the 295 694 for the whole year, and that you have to divide it by, or not divided, but multiply by 70%. It's 206. So you can still play around with the numbers a little bit more, but that's how can be, that's how it's calculated. And the TPB is same thing, 1,478 times 35% is $500,000 plus or minus that 7%. So it can vary, but that's for the whole year. So they pretty much have a good amount of money, for this semester.
Fantasy, you can continue.
Thank you. And my last, not last, but just for right now, my concern was it's under the ASG Ops tab. So first I want to mention that amidst the training, it looks like there's about, and correct me if I'm wrong, there's about 14,000 for food. Don't know exactly how many students that is covering, but that is a good amount of money to spend on food. And I think the whole budget was like 17,000. So just kind of like in comparison, looking at what that is. Again, that's under ASG Ops, I believe. Yeah, under that fall training.
Fall training.
Yeah, right there. Y'all can take a look at that if you want. I'll just go into my next concern because it wasn't really a question, it was just more concern. My next concern is on the same tab. It's under the Work Service Award, which is 1,000 for the parliamentarian and 2,900 for the Chief Justice. I just want to clarify, I guess. I know that as a senator, I get around 1,000. I don't know if we're able to be talking about this, but anyways, I didn't know that the executive got around 2,900 each semester. So I don't know if that's for the semester, for the year. Exec is, I'm sure that Chief Justice is on the exec, yes, so they get paid a little bit more. So I just wanted to know, like, why are the Work Service Awards coming from different areas, like from senators versus like these positions? And if we don't fund them, does that look like they get money somewhere else, or is the position just not a thing anymore? Also, similar concern, I think it's right under there, is the ASG professional staff salary and ASG director. So and then also the ASG executive assistant versus the grad assistant. So I know that it's around $150,000 that we're supplying for 2 employee salaries. And just to kind of go on what another ASG member had said, we really need to start pushing the university to pay their employees. I don't think that student activities fund should be necessarily paying for their salaries. I know that they might be in a bind of like new positions, or I'm not really sure, but as we should value our employees, value our grad assistants, our directors, our ASG executive assistant. I think that would be very smart of us to be pushing the university to pay them, and so that those positions don't go away. So I know this kind of gets nitpicky where like whose money comes from where, but I just think if you go down to the ASG professional staff salary and then the ASG executive assistant, I think, yeah, so 89,000 for the salary of the director, and then I think it's 60,000 for the executive assistant. And then down below that, you can see that down below that, we didn't fund the ASG grad assistant. Sorry, I think it's the last one. So are we gonna have a grad assistant, or are we switching that to the executive assistant? Yeah, so I just in general had a concern about that funding.
I think answer to your first question regarding the what was it? Not professional staff. The service awards. I think Marilyn or Jen can take more. They can explain better the topic.
Yeah, so for work service awards, those are typically allocated by the federal government, and we get work service award allocations about every 5 years from them. You all have created the positions listed since our last allocation, so you all did not receive funding from the federal government for those positions. And the students who created those positions were aware of that at the time, that they would need to fund that through the student activity fee, because we wouldn't have the opportunity to apply for several years. And so if we were not to fund those, it could impact whether or not those students receive an award and what that looks like, because there's not another source of funding available currently.
And if you can go more in detail, Marilyn, as well, or maybe a member of the finance committee in our decision with the executive assistant and all of that.
Ben, is your hand raised regarding this or something else?
It's regarding a whole bunch of things. I'm not sure if I could give the best, I guess, answer to this, except for the fact that we did not fund the ASG graduate assistant because it does say that this should be denied if we fund the executive assistant. And I believe we felt comfortable funding an executive assistant over a grad assistant just by means of this being the undergraduate student activities fee. But if someone else feels more prepared on this section, they're more than welcome to discuss it.
Madeline or Jen, do you have more information to add on to?
I think we can, thank you, Maya. I think we can wait. I think some members of the finance committee may be able to answer that. And then if not, we are happy to clarify.
AJ, you can answer this question.
Okay, sorry, I wasn't sure if my hand was raised in the pool of hands, but regarding the ASG professional staff allocation, this was a topic that was debated during Finance Committee, full disclosure to senators. The issue being is, yes, this is a much larger issue that we want to address with the university as to who should be funding these positions. The conclusion ended up coming to realizing and acknowledging the amount of work, time, and energy staff members give to the senators, to ASG exec, to basically every pinpoint of ASG. And it's something that I really want to support everyone in thinking about, to where if we don't fund this specific line item, what that means is that the people that have been helping us and that we want to help are the ones that are going to end up being damaged by not funding this. So if this is definitely something the next Senate wants to do, like they want to make that a larger conversation with the university, like that's definitely an option. But with the tight turnaround time, it just doesn't make sense to harm the people that we want to help.
Thank you. Ben?
I was going to circle back to some other specific questions regarding other line items if the conversation on the ASG ops requests is finished, but I don't want to like move around super quickly. So if anyone else has a question regarding this specific section, I want to let them speak first.
You're next on stack, so according to Robert's rules, you would go next.
Okay, then I will hopefully cover what was asked previously and we can remain on this. So a previous center brought up the issue of the Summer Bridge initiative under the SSS. Rafa, could you please slide up to that one? So yeah, so we denied 3 aspects of this event, which was the two movie nights and the swag. So the reason we did this was because we had a precedent of we didn't fund movies. We didn't feel like they just overall no movie or theater event was funded just because we didn't feel like they were the most important aspects of the events. We felt like the events could do their mission without them. And for swag, we had already given centers an opportunity to ask for funding. So I do want to clarify this event was not canceled or not funded completely. It was there were aspects of it that were removed due to precedent. They were overarching for all centers, not just this one. I think the other one mentioned was the sorry if I mispronounce this, the Cafiesto with Borders under the MCASA. And it's this one, and all of these were hard. No one wanted to cut any events. No one felt good about cutting any of the events, but the reality was that that events had to be cut. We don't have the funding to fund all of these events. And this is just one of the examples of it's something needed to be cut, and we felt like the community engagement aspect of this event had been fulfilled in previous events and previous line items. So while we don't want to cut it, while we don't want to not have this event in any way, it's just the reality is that events needed to be cut, and we decided this was one of them. And along those lines, again, I do want to reiterate that these are not set in stone. This does not mean this event cannot happen in the future. It is just that these are the numbers that we will be giving to the Finance Committee for the fall to specifically allocate the funds more directly to the centers. So Those are the two that I have that I want to discuss, and hopefully that answers the questions and concerns regarding those two line items. If there are any other ones that I can discuss, I would be happy to do so specifically.
Thank you, Ari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think one of the things that also was brought up to my attention after I was reading the allocation reports was a bit of a lack of transparency in terms of when we were checking each tab. Senators and I had met last night and also this morning to kind of just discuss and review this, and we put in quite a bit amount of time. So I want to give that recognition as well. But in terms of the tab for TPV, we had noticed that there was not a full breakdown as many of the previous sections, if we would like to look here. And I can also, there will also be other senators speaking on that, but I also wanted to know at my community college, when we had allocation reports, we also had audit reports just to kind of reference if that is something that this like the financial committee has available, if that's an option for us to see as well. I would be totally open to seeing audit reports. Just that way we can have that transparency for our senators to review. Thank you. I yield back my time.
We've reached our extended time again. So if anyone would like to make a motion to further extend the time, they could do that. And I'd like to make the recommendation to senators to understand that it's better to ask for more time and then yield the rest of the time than to keep asking for extended time. But yeah, if anyone would like to make a motion, they could do that now.
Madeline.
I move to extend this time for this line item by 30 minutes.
Second.
There is a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to extend this line item by 30 minutes. Is there any further discussion? Jen?
I just want to bring this up that I want you all to be aware of the time and the other agenda items. I'm not devaluing this conversation. I'm really glad it's happening, but I want you to be intentional about quorum and also that there's other line items. So I'm just putting that out there for consideration. And Inaya, if you have anything else to say. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be doing, I apologize.
Fantasy?
Thank you. I totally understand that consideration, and I'd also encourage senators to consider that this funding affects everyone next year. It affects so many people, so many centers. I know we're all on edge and wanting to get this approved in more or less a rushed manner, but I'd rather us do it efficiently and confidently and in equitable ways than time constricting us. And I understand, it's not really our fault that we got it on the last meeting. So I think that we just need to kind of reap the consequences and know that this might take time. I understand not all senators are on the same page as delving into this and taking more time on it, but I know that there are still many concerns about the budget. So I just encourage y'all to understand that this is one of our biggest and most crucial decisions we make for this year going to next year and for students.
I just want to say that the reason that the budget is being presented now is because Finance Committee spent so many meetings going over this budget to present to you all that it wasn't able to be presented, put on the agenda in time and presented to the Senate. We had to still go over this because we were intentional with all of our decisions. And then, as you know, there was a very full agenda last time we had to rush. Just to clarify that. Lauren?
Okay, I have a few different thoughts and I'm going to say them all and then make a move. Okay, I don't think 30 minutes is a good use of our time. I know that there are a few more things that we want to get through. I think for the most part, all of the discrepancies that have been addressed, that have been brought up, have been addressed. There's no swag, no decorations, no theater events. And that is pretty much all that was denied in a lot of these requests, from my understanding, from what I've seen. I'm going to kill the main motion, move to kill the main motion, and then move to approve and limit debate to 10 minutes. So with that being said, I I move to table the bill indefinitely.
Anaya, can you just explain that in layman's terms for everybody?
What a great task I have. I would have clarification for Lauren. May I ask, what are you're tabling the budget indefinitely?
No, the motion to extend time.
Gotcha. Well, I don't know if that's possible, because if you limit the motion to extend time and move on, you could move to amend the time and then make your second motion that you said.
Sean?
All right, I was gonna say something, but now I'm not really following what's going on, so I might just lower my hand. So I'm not sure what the motion exactly is, to be honest.
I guess we'll see. Lauren?
I move to amend the motion to 10 minutes of extended time.
Good.
Was that a second, AJ?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. So we have to vote on the amendment and then we have to vote on that amended motion. Right? No? Okay. So there's a motion to amend this to extend the time to 15 minutes, right? Is that what it was? 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, thank you. Haven't been seconded, so we're voting on the amended motion right now. Is there any further discussion? Ben?
For clarification, was this a limiting time for 10 more minutes or just extending time for 10 minutes?
Extended time for 10 minutes.
Excellent, thank you.
Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. So now we have to vote on the motion, which is to extend the line item by 10 minutes. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Motion passes. Forget who's in the middle of talking. Okay. Oh, I have Lupe next on stack.
Yeah, so just to address the TBB stuff, as you all know, TBB, and just as a refresher, TBB's budget is different from all the other line item or all the other sheets, just because we receive our budget in lump sum. So in the past, TBB typically could have just did TPB's fall budget and then requested, I'll just go with what was requested, $265,000, and then Senate would approve it. But recognizing that there needs to be more like understanding of what's going on, we've broken it down into the 4 major groups as such. So the regular events, collaborations that we've been doing in our new events, off campus, and all the descriptions are on there. So I just wanted to address that. And so this is just to help give a better grasp. And the reason why we don't have as much specific stuff is to allow for things that are asked of us in the middle of the semester to help support students. For example, fall semester, what we were asked was asking to help provide kits for the students who were quarantined so that they had entertainment. So it was like providing the puzzles, different stuff like that. And this semester, if we didn't have this transparency, like not transparency, if we didn't have this ability to kind of move our budget as we saw fit, we wouldn't have been able to fund all of the rentals for OA over the spring semester. So this is kind of just to allow us to be more adaptable to what's going on. And whatever's being asked of. And this is also like to help with other centers who may want to collaborate with TPB to help further extend their resources to other students. And then yeah, anyway, just to address something that was mentioned a while ago as a finance committee member regarding the bowling, the reason why we approved bowling was because for the BSRC, we approved a night in David Buster's, and it didn't seem fair to approve one and not the other. And how we saw that was that it was an off-campus community building experience. So that's why if we approved one, it just wasn't right if we approved it one and not the other. So we felt that it was necessary precedent-wise to keep that roll going. And that's what happened with the movies as well.
Thank you. Lauren?
I move to approve the fall 2021 allocations with the caveat that we can still debate after a motion is made. Just let that be clear.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded, to approve the fall 2021 allocations. Is there any further discussion? Sabrina?
Thank you. So first of all, I just wanted to say that as previous senators had mentioned, like, yeah, there had to be budget cuts made. As we had mentioned in the end of year allocations, $40K on furniture could have really helped a lot of centers. So maybe that didn't seem like a lot to people, but as we look now at the budget, that was a lot of money. I think it's really awesome that TBB has that flexibility, but I think a lot of other centers would also like that flexibility. And I don't really know if that's equitable. I think a lot of centers would like to be able to kind of hear what their students would like and be able to move around their funding more fluidly. So I wanted to point out that inequity. I also wanted to ask about the ASG ops. I realize that they have DirecTV. Do we have any data about why we need it to cost that much? Could we use Sling instead? Are students actually watching this? What channels are they watching? Like, I want to know. I also wanted to go into the NYT New York Times membership. I realized that that's an initiative that we had, but I'm really curious to know the data behind how many students have downloaded and are using it. Are we able to access that data? Are we able to see it? Because that's over 8K. So I want to make sure students are utilizing and are aware of it. Furthermore, I wanted to talk about the BibliU. I realized that was funded. However, the library for SSS was not. And I don't know if there was confusion, but SSS's library, the books that they have, which are over 1,000, are not the same as the BibliU. SSS is more accessible. SSS is preparing for a hybrid kind of model. They're preparing to mail students books as well as have them in person. The BibliU, it only had some books. It doesn't have majority of the 1,000 books that SSS has. So those aren't, like, in my opinion, comparable, and taking away a crucial resource to students is a big deal to me. So I wanted to bring that up. I also wanted to just talk to, like, transparency. I feel like we really need to work on our transparency and maybe create some type of audit reports, because I think that there's just a lot of confusion about where money goes or how it goes or what's it for. Going back to the furniture, I really would have appreciated to see maybe pictures of the furniture. So for future, if we can have audit reports, if we can have better clarification so we're educated and know what we're voting about, that would be very much appreciated. And I think that future senators and senators who are going to continue on, this is something you should advocate for. I wanted to point out that Olay weekend, I realized that the president does fund that. That is not, in my opinion, as a transfer student, the most inclusive for transfer students. So I want to encourage the LLC to reach out to TLCs and incorporate us more, because I realize that is $40K that is going towards that. So we want to make sure we're being inclusive of all students. Furthermore, I wanted to just encourage everybody to look at the centers and really think about is not funding the San Diego Asian Film Festival, like, because it's a film, does that really not create community, or is representation important? Not funding the Queering Outdoors, does that build community? I believe it does. So I really think we need to think about the different ways we can create community and not limit ourselves because, oh, it's on a screen, or, oh, it's a play. That doesn't create community. I think we really should have a discussion about what is community and what it feels like and what we can do to support our students. So I really just encourage.
Sabrina, sorry, I'll let you continue after. I just want, Justin has to leave soon. I would like him to address the Biblia and the New York Times questions that you had, but I'll let you continue. So Justin, if you're still here, could you quickly address any sort of information that you have on Biblia and New York Times?
Yes, real quick. I don't have the files in front of me because I would need to access that through Todd, the New York Times rep. But addressing the usage for the New York Times, we brought it back because when we took the actual data of students who beforehand used their san diego.edu to pay for it themselves. So their subscription email was their san diego.edu. We found that the number was a little over 300. I think about 350 students were currently using the New York Times with their san diego.edu. So this doesn't take into account the potential students that are using it without their san diego.edu. And so then when we plugged in the numbers and we were like, okay, let's amend the contract and bring it back at a cheaper rate than it was before at about 8,970, we found that the actual savings it brought to the student body, if we're only gonna keep it at that 300 user base, the savings was about, again, I apologize because I did the math a little earlier with Todd earlier in the semester, but it was a couple hundred that we were saving students. And then overall, the actual numbers using the san diego.edu subscription, other than paying for it themselves, it's about $48 a year. And then in terms of BibLU, we have the actual metrics in place for the spring semester. However, as I mentioned, the BibLU was sort of meant to be a stepping off point, like a pilot program, in which case the next vice president could then add titles. That's the big thing with BibLU, because it is an ebook platform where we can keep adding titles as need be. So that's sort of the mock trial program. And then Catherine from Copley, if you have any additional data that I'm missing from BibLU, I'd ask for you to chip in, but that's all rudimentary information. So I hope that that can clear some things up.
Justin, real quick, can students access the New York Times through their Copley library, like for free, without having this membership? Just to clarify.
Yes, the New York Times is available via a research database. So if I were to go back, let's say looking at the November election, the Copley database would not provide the same metrics that the New York Times would, because the New York Times homepage could show you the electoral college and the actual data going towards each candidate. Whereas the Copley database, it's only past articles that are written. And even then it's only listed out in alphabetical or date by date basis. So there isn't a curated standpoint for, let's say, if I open the New York Times in November, it wouldn't show me, oh, Nevada is going blue or swinging red. None of that is there. It's just all purely text without any graphs or analytics. It's just articles.
Sabrina, you can continue.
Thank you. So I just had wanted to point out just some different discrepancies I had seen. I also just wanted to clarify, is there anything in the bylaws about film and theater not being funded because it's not community, or what, just kind of where that came from? I would like a point of clarification.
Would you like me to answer that, Maya?
Go ahead.
The bylaws allow for the finance committee to set their own guidelines. And so if they set that guideline, then it's in the bylaw. So I guess yes, technically.
We've reached our extended time for this agenda item. If anyone would like to make a motion to extend it or make another motion, they can do that now.
Lauren?
I move to call the question.
Second.
Second.
I realized I was muted, sorry. There is a motion having been seconded to call to question, so please cast your votes. Motion passes. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor having been seconded to approve the fall 2021 allocations. Please cast your votes. Motion passes. The fall 2020 allocations have been approved.
Madam Speaker, point of privilege.
Taken well.
All right.
Rafa, are you done with your presentation?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you. So Justin unfortunately had to leave and he was supposed to present the extended pass fail, but basically he just wanted to go over because there's the new incoming Senate is here. So he just wanted to talk about the pass fail, but for sake of time, I'm just gonna send out an email with everything and I'm just trusting that y'all are going to read that email. Thank you very much. And then Sean, we can talk about this being an ongoing conversation next year. Lauren?
The point of information, were the items that were added to the agenda when we amended it, were they put after confirmation of new senators or before?
I believe they were put in before.
Okay. Is it possible to move that up so we don't lose quorum?
Anaya?
Well, technically it wasn't specified, so I think like logically it would actually go after. So we're technically at the swearing in right now.
Okay,
Rich.
Who said that? Sorry. Oh, Angelo, taken well. Okay, moving into the swearing in.
Point of privilege.
Taken well.
Point of privilege.
Just stay on for as long as you possibly can so we can swear in the new body. Okay, so the members of the Associate Student Government of the University of San Diego shall adhere to the highest ethical standards. They shall exercise judgments which are fair, consistent, and equitable. They shall do everything they can to strive for excellence in their goals, adhere to the Constitution and bylaws of the Associate Student Government, and work to achieve the mission of the University of San Diego. After each of the following questions, please respond, I will. So can, oh, sorry.
Motion is needed.
Thank you. Lauren?
I move to approve all incoming senators and all incoming ASG team members.
Sorry.
Thank you. There's a motion on the floor, having been seconded to swear in all the incoming ASG team. Is there any further discussion? If not, please cast your votes. Thank you, motion passes. Okay, so I'll continue with the swearing in. Can all the incoming ASG team just have yourself unmuted, and then we're gonna do a little callback. So after each of the following questions, please respond, I will. Will you demonstrate loyalty to the mission and goals of the University of San Diego? Please respond, I will.
I will.
I will.
I will.
Will you act within the Associate Student Government's Constitution and bylaws?
I will.
I will.
I will.
Will you be fair and just in the treatment of all, addressing issues and people without prejudice, and maintaining a positive working and learning environment?
I will.
I will. I will.
I will.
Will you honor agreements and preserve confidentiality?
I will.
I will.
I will.
I will.
Will you be honest in and accountable for your actions and statements?
I
will.
will.
I will.
Will you demonstrate personal and professional integrity in all matters and respect ASG leaders, administrators, faculty, staff, and students?
I will.
I will.
Will you provide leadership in all of your assigned duties?
I will.
No.
I will.
ASG leaders, please join me in saying the oath of office. So I'm going to read a small phrase, and if you can all just repeat it back to me. We will be part of a team.
We will be part of a
Part of a team.
Which seeks to meet student needs.
Which seeks
seeks
to meet
Student needs.
And opportunities to all students.
and
Opportunities to all students.
And to enhance the quality of education.
and to enhance
Enhance the quality of education.
Students are offered at USD.
Students are
Offered at USD.
We will work with fellow members
We will work,
We'll work
We'll
with
work
fellow
with fellow
members
members
of the Associate Student Government
of
of
the
the
Associated
Associated
Government
in a spirit of harmony and cooperation.
in
in
the
spirit of
harmony
harmony
and
and
cooperation.
To the best of our ability, we will represent and serve
To
to
the
the
best
To
of
the
our
best of our
ability,
ability, we will
represent
represent
and
and serve
the Associate Student Government of the University of San Diego
the
the
Associated
the
Associated
Student
Student Government
Government of the University of San Diego
in all aspects of campus life.
in all
all
aspects of
aspects
campus
of
life.
campus life.
All right, you're now officially sworn in. Everyone, please join me in welcoming our new ASG Senate and ASG team. Yay! Okay, congrats. So since I'm technically no longer speaker, Sean, you're gonna have to take over for this last line item.
Okay, I'm not sure I see the new line item, to be completely honest, in terms of introducing new student organization.
It's gonna be Brooke presenting an organization.
Okay, well, next we have Brooke presenting a new student organization. So, Brooke, take it away.
Jeff, if you could share your screen again, please.
So we only have one new org this week, and it's the Mexico Club, and it's basically kind of an extension more like reached out to different student groups of the Justice in Mexico program. But their mission is to foster a greater awareness about social movements, current events, and policies occurring in Mexico. They have like a pretty standard club set up bi-weekly meetings with exec boards, events focusing on current events with the general body. And then they're a little bit different from other like multicultural orgs because it's more focused on education and outreach for all different identities, and not more necessarily, but they're social justice oriented and they're open to people of all different cultural backgrounds.
I move to approve the Mexico Club.
Second.
Seconded to approve. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, please vote. All right, motion passes. Okay, with that being said, the next item on our agenda is final business and hearing of the public. At this time, any senator may take from the table any motion previously laid on the table in the week before or present urgent business. Any member of the public may voice any concerns to the assembly or non-agenda items. Also, for members of the public, now would be a good time to drop off your email on the chat so we can send you Grubhub credits. Amber?
Thank you to our new Speaker of the Senate. I just wanted to say thank you all so much for your hard work this year and to congratulate you on your last Senate meeting of the year. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to work with you all for this year and for some of you 2 years. So wishing you all the best in your future endeavors, and you are more than welcome to reach out to me via email at ambernight@sandiego.edu. So thank you all.
Jennifer?
Hi, everyone. I know I mentioned this at our banquet over the weekend, but I don't think that everybody was in attendance. I just wanted to thank all of the outgoing group for all of their amazing work and leadership this year. I know in particular today was a very in-depth and critical conversation, and I completely respect all of you all's perspectives and due diligence in the conversation. So I just wanted to thank you all for that, and in particular to Maya for her leadership in Senate. But for all of you, thank you for your commitment this year. And for the new group, we all look forward to working with you and to continue on the legacy that this group has created for you all. We look forward to that. So thank you all for an amazing year, and have a good luck with your finals. We're sending you all lots of love.
Alita?
Thank you. On that same note, I also wanted to thank you all for great work this year. My name is Julita. I'm the advisor for the Student Life Committee. And in that note, thanks, Lauren, of celebration, I just wanted to highlight some Student Affairs Award recipients that we have present here, and just make this formal announcement. So one of our recipients for the outstanding service to the entire campus through their involvement is Lupe. Anaya and Justin are receiving this year's Dr. Thomas J. Cosgrove Award for Outstanding Service in Student Government. And one of our recipients for outstanding contributions to multicultural awareness and understanding is Maya.
Madeline?
On that exciting note, if there is no further discussion, I would like to move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, there's a motion on the floor having been seconded to adjourn today's meeting. Is there any further discussion? All right, there's an, okay, well, please vote.
Just want to say it should only be the new senators voting right now.
All right, motion passes. This meeting has been adjourned.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.